nobody knew that dolphins were automatic, they were not automatic air breathers like us. If you give me a sedative, I will go to sleep. I'll keep breathing. If you do that with the dolphin, they die. Every breath is a conscious effort.
How do they sleep?
They don't, like we do. They rest. They switch different hemispheres of the brain back and forth and rest. But they don't sleep. Every breath is a conscious effort.
They're never fully unconscious.
No, not really. I don't believe so. Nobody would be able to know that, but I don't think I think they're always awake.
Whoa.
So he had written 2 or 3 books that I was reading back there, and I was taking sides with him. He was saying dolphins are more intelligent than humans. It shocked the scientific community for a brain surgeon to be saying this.
In what way were they more intelligent?
Well, that's the thing. He's saying they're more intelligent because, well, first of all, just evolution. They have been here 65 million years. Let's just say as a graph, it's the size of this table in length. This is 65 million years. Mm-hmm. We have been here about on the 2-inch line.
Right.
So if you assume,
a blip on the timeline.
If you assume that the brain is more than excess baggage we're carrying on this trip through time and space, the porch light is on and somebody is home, and that's not only dolphins. Look at the sperm whale. And 1/3 of its body is its head. It's the largest brain on the planet.
How big is a sperm whale's brain? On average. Do you know like the weight or the dimensions of it? Like
the size of this table.
Wow.
Well, you can see that.
There's a good picture.
Yeah, it's a third of his body. Yeah.
It's like the first time I read Charles Darwin, it was a voyage of the Beagle. He had gone from England to the Galapagos Islands, and he wrote, "It creates a sense of wonder that so much beauty was so evidently created for so little purpose." It's kind of like that with this brain. How did this evolve after 65 million years for so little purpose?
Right.
It has a purpose. We just don't know what it is.
It can't manipulate its environment like we can.
Going back to your question, what makes them more intelligent?
Yeah.
This is what his hypothesis. All of the senses are better. So I started reading as much as I could and exploring, and I'm back there living with them, and I started to...
Go up a little bit. What is that giant yellow thing in the front of his face?
Maybe some sensory organ.
Is that a sensory organ? Yeah. That big yellow thing?
Sperm whales have the largest brain of all living organisms. Holy crap.
That's wild. Well, dolphin brains are like the same size, if not bigger than ours. Just regular dolphins.
They're
bigger than ours,
an
right?
eighth bigger, yeah. So these are the things, and I'm starting to believe this, and at the same time, I'm being paid by the Seaquarium. I'm part of this fucking circus going on, and I started rebelling against it. But now my friends are coming out.
Turn that thing a little bit towards you.
At night, and we're doing music and trying to experiment with it. And it looked pretty weird to the Seaquarium because there were no long-haired people at those days, except my friends coming in at night. And, so...
Yeah, it's interesting that these animals have been around for so long, 65 million years, and we've only been here for a couple 100,000 years, but we are so intelligent. I mean, maybe they're more intelligent, but it's really close. And there's a lot. Are you aware of the stoned ape hypothesis? How like there's multiple different theories on how our brains evolved, right? Because there's
the aquatic ape.
There's nothing like us on Earth. There's a massive gap between us and the next primate, right? It's like why is there such a big gap, the evolutionary gap between us? You know what I mean? And how did we come up? How did we just pop up out of nowhere? This intelligent animal that can manipulate its environment and build all these crazy things and create artificial intelligence.
Well, have you been watching Ancient Aliens?
I have not watched Ancient Aliens.
You have to watch that. Everybody has to watch that because they're actually showing you the answer to your question.
They talk about, well, I know there's like a bunch of ideas, and one of them is panspermia too. How there's rocks that come from other solar systems, and they hit our Earth. They hit the Earth, and they contain microorganisms from other galaxies or whatever, and that could have somehow fueled our evolution or like changed something within us and made us pop
That's where
up
we
out of
came
nowhere.
from.
Right.
That's what their hypothesis.
Yes.
No, they're saying this. We are actually an experiment.
Yes, that's one of the ideas. And the other one is a monkey ate a mushroom, and then our brains jumped 10 times the size.
Yeah. So who knows? But dolphins.
So John Lilly, his experiment, cutting the skull caps off the dolphins and putting electrodes in their brains. What did he say the results of those experiments were? Did he?
He got off track. He got off track with drugs. Last time I saw John, I was staying at his house in Malibu. He was so far. I don't want to say gone. Maybe he's the only one but he's communicating with aliens at this point.
Oh, really?
It's not about do they exist. He's actually in touch with them.
Oh, that's what he said to you.
He doesn't say it to me. He's just doing. He just does it. I couldn't understand him when I first met him in Coconut Grove, and he came out to the Seaquarium. He was very straight. I'll use that word. A white doctor coat with a tie, short haircut, and scientist. After Tim Leary left, he was a different person altogether. Now he's freeing the dolphins from the Coconut Grove Bank and putting them in Biscayne Bay, letting them go. The last dolphin he had, two of them. Their names are Joe and Rosie, named after Joseph E. Levine and his wife Rosalie, who made the movie Day of the Dolphin. He made a lot of movies, Joseph E. Levine. But John agreed that when they were captured, when he's through doing his human dolphin communications work, he would set them free. And they were stuck at the Dolphin Research Center down in the Florida Keys for about 4 or 5 years. The promise just went undone. And a group of people got together. They hired me. We moved dolphins by helicopter. Lincoln was with us. He's about 3 feet tall. Flew up to Georgia to the National Geographic documented this in a, I think it was the very first Explorer series. But we rehabilitated the dolphins and set them free. Wow. And that's the last he did with dolphins before he died.
Have you ever, there's this, we were just talking about this on a podcast the other day. There is a new artificial intelligence company, or it's an organization that's developing, it's called Interspecies IO, and they're using artificial intelligence to communicate with dolphins and to other species. So what they're doing is they're using artificial intelligence to record, like you record the sounds that these animals make, and it's supposed to be able to decipher it so we can understand what they're saying. So essentially using AI to communicate with animals and understand and possibly communicate back with them. It's bizarre. Yeah, this is it right here. It's a think tank, an artificial intelligence think tank. And it goes back to what John Lilly was doing. You know, it's all about understanding non-human intelligence. Anyway, so you guys were spending time trying to, you were playing music, you were communicating with the animals, you were spending a lot of time with the animals, and this sort of catapulted this sort of like sent you for a loop, and it changed you and made you. At what point was it during Flipper, or what? Maybe it was after Flipper that you.
No, it was before.
It was before it ended.
Long before, like the second year. I knew I mean, it's real obvious. Dolphins do not belong in captivity. It's very black and white when you're living with them like this. But I didn't do anything about it.
Was it the death of Kathy?
That was it. Yeah. So it was an act of passion that forced that. There was an automatic, organic reaction to her suicide. You mentioned earlier they are self-aware.
Yes.
That every breath is a conscious effort. And that's what she died from, self-induced asphyxiation. Not every breath they take is a conscious effort.
Right.
Right? If you don't take the next breath, you're going to, that's self-induced asphyxiation. And that's what I witnessed. And I have seen that over and over again at the Cove in Taiji, where they're driven in. If you don't know how to read their body language, you wouldn't see what I see. When I go to a place where dolphins are, I don't see the same thing. I see what's really going on. And I see dolphins being driven in. Visually, you're only seeing them on the surface, but I've spent so much time with them underwater. I know what's going on underwater when they're being driven in. When they're being driven into the cove, the boats are banging on these poles, and they're panicking. I'm imagining all this, but I know what's going on. The old are left behind because they can't keep up. There are pregnant females who are aborting. They're panic-stricken. And so I experience all this with them. And they're driven into the cove. It's sealed. And a lot of them, I'm watching them on the surface. They take that last breath, young ones, and the mother, you can watch them getting together, and they sink, and they don't come back up again. That's what I'm talking about, because nobody can see that but me. That is self-induced asphyxiation. They're committing suicide. So it's not uncommon. When life becomes that unbearable, if I were anatomically equipped like they are, I probably would have done the same thing in that Japanese prison and a few other places I've been, just not taking that next breath.